Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today, hopefully, this is the last video I make, talking about heroes that I think are really broken or underrated in this patch, because I think there's going to be another patch coming very, very soon. I'm pretty sure everything that's been going down on Twitter confirms that. And so yeah, today we're going to be talking about 4 heroes that I think are crazy good right now that you can play in your pubs for the next few days if you're really trying to sneak in some MMR at the last minute. These are heroes that are all performing very well at the major, and honestly I'm shocked they aren't being picked even more at the major and definitely more in your average pub. Now a quick word from our new sponsor.
I think we all know and love the fact that Dota is a free game. Sometimes you don't want to have to break the bank just to enjoy your free time. However, that isn't actually the case with every single other game that's out there. And some AAA titles right now are insanely expensive. I for one don't want to pay those prices, and I'm willing to bet that you guys don't want to pay them either. But thankfully, our new sponsor, G2A, is here to help you guys out. G2A is a website that has hundreds of games all at discounted prices. It does not matter what kind of game you want to play, they have options for you. They've got titles ranging from GTA to The Last of Us to DayZ and much more. And if you guys are looking to score some sweet Dota stuff, they even have codes for Steam cards as well. But there's no better time than right now to check it out, because G2A is actually currently running an insane spring sale with some stuff being up to 98% off. So don't miss out on this opportunity. Click the link in the description and start to save today.
Alright, so getting into the first hero you guys should try. This is a hero I think I made 2 videos on this YouTube channel, which I usually never do for heroes because I like to switch up what heroes I'm talking about. But Witch Doctor, man, I'm so upset that Gaming Gladiators lost the game with Carry Witch Doctor. I'm sure a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. They were in a game where Duraccio played Witch Doctor. Unfortunately, they let Terrorblade through, which I think is actually, from my experience, the hardest hero to play against. And the reason why is physical damage is a bit of a problem for Witch Doctor all throughout the game. The hero has a bit of an armor problem, even with Greaves. Greaves only truly kicks in when you get low in terms of armor, so you have a bit of an armor problem. You can die in the lane to Terrorblade, which, it wasn't the case in that game, but he's also a Scotty buyer. And he can split push and cut ways and so on, which can delay the death ball of Witch Doctor. All in all though, I just think that matchup's not great, and I think the way they played the match just wasn't clean, right? They made a lot of mistakes. However, this hero is currently 5-2, and I honestly think it's just a somewhat broken hero. I legitimately think Holy Locket Witch Doctor is one of the most insane things in the game. I also think its shard is a top 10 shard in the game. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Voodoo Switcheroo is a shard of Witch Doctor. For 1400 gold, you go into the ground, you're untargetable, and you shoot out your ult. And Death Ward does a ton of damage. This Death Ward, this Voodoo Switcheroo, yes, it does less damage than normal Death Ward. The attack speed is slightly reduced by technically 30, but it's in my experience, it's not that noticeable. It's just not. You're still going to do half health, 3/4 health to most supports, and if you hit a stun Maledict into Voodoo Switcheroo, you're untargetable and you can kill a hero. It's genuinely one of the strongest heroes in the current meta right now for grouping up and balling up. So if you're taking a lot of early skirmishes, the build you should be looking to go is some sort of, if you're a core, you can go for Mana Boots, Soul Ring, Holy Locket. If you're a support, I honestly think just going Mana Boots into Holy Locket is a good way to go. From there, you're going to need raindrops in between for a little bit of mana. You will have a bit of issue in terms of sustain, so I personally like seeing the 202 into 242, so maxing out the Voodoo Switcheroo a bit later on. And the reason why is it's just too hard to sustain in the laning stage as a support. You can try, you're gonna burn through your mana pool, you're gonna eat through it. However, it honestly is a good support. It's very strong. Once again, you go Holy Locket, then you just buy a shard. It's as simple as that, and you're gonna have a ton of impact just standing next to people. 60 heal per second pure is insane. You have to look at it as it's a pure damage radiance. It's better actually. It's a pure damage radiance. That's what his heal is. And so I'm just surprised more teams aren't taking advantage of this hero. I think it's just straight up underrated, underlooked. And if it gets buffed in the next patch, which it might, because even with how good I think it is, people aren't playing it. People just think it's a joke of a hero or something, or maybe I'm overrating it, but I really don't think I am. And so it might even get buffed in the next patch. And if it does, I'm gonna put this hero as S tier. Easily if that happens. But yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, next hero is Underlord, the Aura Buyer. Man, the Vanguard Underlord, man, it's so hard to play against in the early game. This item, Vanguard, I think is, I don't want to say it's broken. It's definitely not broken because it has its problems. It's somewhat expensive, sort of. It's 1,850 gold, which isn't that bad, you know what I mean? It's not cheap, but it's definitely not like giga expensive, but it takes a little bit of time to get up to. However, it builds from a ring of health, right? So you can kind of sustain the lane, and then with Underlord, you pick up this Vanguard, and I played this in a pub recently, I'll talk about that in a second, but you pick up this Vanguard, and then you sit in the lane with Atrophy Aura, you take no physical damage whatsoever, you push out the lane, or you static the lane, and you deny every single creep. And then from there, it kind of just comes down to the fact that auras are the way to go right now. I mean, Grease is in a good spot. We've seen a lot more Crimsons, which I'm really glad about, because for a bit, I felt that like every time I'd read Crimson Guard or play with Crimson Guard, because I would buy it some games, I'm like a proponent of the item, or play against it, I'm like, this item just does a lot. In particular, the thing that always blows me away is how good this item is on towers. If you don't know, you can activate Crimson Guard on towers. So when the enemy team is pushing, right, and if you just want to stall the push, let's say your team is split pushing, you just want to stall the push, you click your Crimson, and it blocks 75 damage per hit 100% of the time from every target. So the creeps do no damage, and then almost every hero hitting, and the supports do literally 0, and every hero hitting just does 70 less damage, 75. And so this item just feels incredible at delaying pushes, and then in early team fights, you might be like, oh, but a lot of early game damage is magical. You're right, but on average, and I'm not 100% sure about this, but I know it to be somewhat true, the damage you'll take in the early game is usually about 70% magical and like 30% physical. However, that 30% physical gets almost entirely blocked by Crimson. And the nice thing about Crimson is the build-up compared to Pipe is just a little bit better. I just feel like Vanguard as an early item is better against most safe laners, right? Most safe laners are physical damage, so when you pick up a Vanguard, you can bully out heroes like even Monkey King, you can bully out Lunas, you can bully out Morphlings, you can sustain against the harder lanes like a Nature's Prophet. So it just gives you this good option. And I know I'm harping on this item a bit, but it really is the reason, in my opinion, Underlord is good. I've seen almost every Underlord that plays consider this item or buy this item. And then from there, yeah, it's just a Crimson, it's a Greaves, it's a Pipe. Very straightforward. Another cool thing about the Underlord is the portal usage. Portal is, or Dark Rift, is probably one of the most misused or improperly used or least abused ability in the game. Like, this ability is pretty insane. When you go through it, you get damage reduction and movement speed. So you actually fly. And on top of that, it just allows you to gank a lane or help your support. Like, let's say someone's standing next to you, you have a Tusk next to you. You can rift that guy across the map, he can kill top, and then come back through the portal and continue to play bottom if he wants to do so. Like, this ability's utility is pretty broken. It's like a better relocate. I was gonna say it can't get canceled, but you can cancel the people going through it. The point is that it just kind of sits on the ground. You can even block people when they're running away. You can put it in front of them and they'll accidentally channel it. There's a lot of uses for this ability. It's pretty cool. Then we have Night Stalker. Little thing about Night Stalker, I think it's mostly good against the unit heroes. Just being able to threaten heroes like Beastmaster by forcing them out of buying Helm of the Dominator 2 is incredibly good. If you don't know why, Night Stalker's Shard allows his Hunter in the Night to become an active ability, and as long as he's close to the creep, he can eat Ancient Creeps, and that includes dominated Ancient Creeps. So against heroes like Lycan and Beastmaster in particular, we've seen at this tournament, teams are picking up the Night Stalker and running it as somewhat of a counter. Decent in the lane against Beastmaster because it's just very tanky and can bully him out at nighttime extremely easily. If he goes Boar or Axes, you still can do very, very well at nighttime. And so yeah, I've just seen this hero look good. A lot of the players are going actually Radiance into Shard and then BKB, and from there, just kind of depends on the game. You can go AC Basher AC. You can go something like Bloodthorn if the enemy team is all magic damage. There's a lot, or Blank if you want to get really active. There's a lot of different cool builds you can go, but I like the Radiance. And the reason why I like Radiance is when it's daytime, you still can have impact in mini skirmishes because, well, you get kited, but at least you're burning them. And then on top of that, it's just mostly about the farming. This hero tends to have a farming problem, once again, especially during daytime. But having a Radiance and playing this hero as a carry rather than an offlaner is nice because you scale extremely well. This hero's talents are insane, and then his abilities, right, are just insane for scaling. You have free pathing, extreme vision, and AoE silence that can't be dispelled. That's great late game against like Eul's and such, and Ghost Scepters and whatever. So yeah, this hero just scales really, really great as a carry. It plays very, very fast, and I think it's a hard counter to the unit heroes. So definitely something more players should be considering. And finally, the last hero on the list is Enchantress. Honestly, Enchantress is probably not too surprising to any of you guys to hear on this video. And I also will say I wanted to add Doom as an honorable mention, but I feel like that hero, I've talked about it enough. It's just too flexible, too good. The base stats are too strong outside of movement speed. Its base stats are too good, it hits too hard, it's too easy to lane, usually. and it scales too well. Like, it just can do anything. Doom can literally do anything. So the hero's win rate is 60%, another hero to consider. But then we have Enchantress, another hero at a 60% win rate. I mean, this hero is just not losing games at Dream League, right? It's just simply not losing games. It's 35 and 21, which is funny because that means it lost 21 games, but you get the point. It's 35 and 21. This hero is winning like crazy. And every game, it's like, surely teams have figured it out, but it's just too hard to figure out, man. The ability to take over any creep, it gives you too many options. It's kind of like the Doom effect, right? Sort of, you know, Doom can take over any creep too, but it works out very different. But I really think a lot of teams are learning how to play fast, and they're very good at playing fast, and Ench is arguably one of the best heroes in the game at doing this, because she can take all the tier 1s, like, really fast. She's probably the best hero in the game at taking tier 1s. So she takes all the tier 1s, and they can kind of just hold an area on her own. And when you have a hero like Ench that can body the ganks, right, kind of just sit in front, tank the enemy team, give vision with the creep, heal her teammates, you just scale well, right? So you scale well and you can play fast. And so even if the game goes poorly, what I've seen is like, let's say the game slows down, okay? Maybe your team dies a bit, the Ench dies a couple times. She still can farm like crazy because of how enchant works. This is always the case, but it really just feels like, I don't know, every Ench I watch has Glimmer, Holy Locket, Boots of Bearing. That tends to be the build right now as well. I personally think the Boots of Bearing maybe is slightly overvalued. It depends on the game. Like, a lot of people will upgrade a Boots of Bearing right away when the enemy team doesn't even have slows, which is a bit weird to me. The only nice thing about Boots of Bearing, outside of the fact that it gives you like a slightly buffed drums active, and if someone gets slowed, they don't get slowed at all during the active of Boots of Bearing, is that you actually get the movement speed from Tranquil Boots, which is really high. I believe it's 65 all the time. It doesn't get canceled, right? Tranquil Boots movement speed, you lose it if you get hit. You don't if you have Boots of Bearing, so that's pretty cool. And the same goes for the HP regen, right? The 15, well, I don't know if you get 15 from Tranquils, I think it's 14, but you get 15 from Boots of Bearing, and it doesn't get canceled ever. So that's pretty cool, right? Every 10 seconds you get 150 health. It's part of the reason these Enches feel really, really tanky, and Drums is just too good on Ench, right? You need a mana pool, gives you that. You need HP, gives you that. Movement speed's great. You want attack speed, like you need attack speed, gives you that. It's just too damn good. So this build just makes so much sense. And then the Hurricane Pike scaling, you just kill supports in the fights. Like, yes, you do a lot of damage to cores too, but man, you can kind of just walk past the enemy team, put a creep on some support, and chuck some spears at them, and they die. So great laning stage, very reliable, gives you the ability to take the early towers, opening up the map, which tends to be pretty strong right now with a lot of the greedier strats that we're also seeing. So like, that's why this hero is so popular. It's good with like high aggression, it's good with like Beastmaster, for instance. That's my favorite combo actually, because the Ench can secure the beast lane pretty well, and then on top of that it scales well in terms of a combo because you have control from beast, which Ench doesn't have, and then on top of that the Enchantress once again wants attack speed, and so the impetus with Inner Beast is extremely good. Level 15 Beastmaster gives 50 attack speed, which is pretty crazy high, right? And so it just allows Enchantress to just be a beast, hit really hard. And I think this is cool because then you have multiple heroes taking advantage of Inner Beast, where typically with Beastmaster strats, you're only going to have Beastmaster's units and like the safe laner using it. Maybe the mid laner a little depending on the hero, but you're not going to get too much value out of Inner Beast. You'll get a little bit, get good value, but it's not like the main thing about the hero. It's more about the Hawks, the Roar, and then the ability to like push with the creeps, which I guess is somewhat Inner Beast. But yeah, point being, you get a lot of value out of the Ench. And so yeah, one of the most picked heroes of the tournament, 56 games. Doom is actually the second most picked at, I'm sorry, well, he's tied for second with the Enchantress. And then the most picked hero is Rubik, who actually has a negative win rate, which is always funny to me. Beast at 57%, that's pretty cool. But all right. Oh, that's really crazy. Dragonite has a 59% win rate, guys. That's pretty wild. Every time I watch this hero, I'm like a little bit underwhelmed. I'm a big fan of the hero, but like, I'm usually a little underwhelmed by it, but it's just doing well. I'm Pango at 60%. Crazy. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.